Hi, thanks for stopping by. I'm Cher, the Shadow Walker, and I'm looking at Canada and the U.S., the Pacific region, and the Northwest Territories for strange and weird occurrences and animal mutilations in the past 24 hours. And I'd like to welcome everybody from the United States. So we're going to start with Alberta. And in the Drumheller-Stettler region of Alberta, on the 24th, multiple witnesses reported a silent white point source light performing nonlinear maneuvers, sharp turns that defied standard physics. This occurred between 10 p.m. and 1 and 12:30 a.m. on the 24th/25th. They shared it with the UFO Disclosure of Canada. In an animal mutilation in north central Alberta in St. Paul Elk Point area, a rancher discovered a cow in an unexplained state. The animal had been clean and bloodless removal of tongue and one ear. Notably, there were no predator tracks or signs of a struggle in the soft spring mud and surrounding carcass. And that was discovered on Monday, March 23rd, and it was reported to the RCMP and Alberta Fish and Wildlife. In the Horse Thief Canyon area of Drumheller, that's our skinwalker for the United States. This is our skinwalker region. I live in it. Hikers reported a heavy bipedal movement, unusual deep chest vocalizations coming from the canyon floor. And that was approximately at 9 p.m. on March the 23rd. They reported it to a private independent research group and Dogman sighting database. In British Columbia, in the Victoria Baston Square area and central Vancouver Island, multiple witnesses reported a high-altitude pulsing amber orbs that appeared to hover for several minutes before accelerating vertically at extreme speed. This mirrored the high-volume reports over 130 BC has already seen this year. This occurred between 11:15 p.m. and 1:30 a.m. on the 24th, and they reported it to the Ufology Research Canada UFO Survey. Animal mutilation. In BC, in the Kootenay region in Fort St. John, reports have surfaced of livestock found with specific non-predatorial injuries. In the Kootenay region, 2 yearling cattle found with precise circular excisions of the jaw and ocular tissue. Local ranchers noted a total absence of scavenger birds, crows, and vultures near the carcasses for at least 24 hours, and that happened on Tuesday, March 24th. It was reported to the BC RCMP and the Livestock Association. And a strange and weird occurrence in the Pitt Lake region and the New Westminster area. Reports of vocalizations where witnesses hear their own names called back in their own voices have been noted by campers near the north end of Pitt Lake. Additionally, shadow figures were reported near the BC Penitentiary Gatehouse, excuse me, in Westminster, coinciding with localized power surges in the area. This occurred and it peaked at 3 a.m. on March 23rd, and they reported it to an independent paranormal investigating research group in the region. In the Northwest Territories, Yukon, and Yellowknife. So in the Yellowknife area, pilots and ground observers reported dancing lights moving in a circular pattern at a high altitude. Unlike the aurora borealis, these lights were described as distinct, bright white orbs that appeared to interact with each other before disappearing toward the northern arm of the lake. This occurred between 11:45 p.m. and 2:15 a.m. on the 24th. They reported it to the Civil Aviation. Animal mutilations in South Yukon near Carcross and the Taniki River A report emerged of a wood bison found near a remote trail. Precision-like trauma. The animal was missing its left eye and tongue, with the surrounding hide removed in a perfect circle. There were no signs of a struggle, and local tracks of scavengers and wolves would not touch. They avoided going near the site. That was discovered in the afternoon on March 24th. They reported it to the Yukon Conservation Office Services and shared with northern livestock and trapping circles. In the Nahanni Valley and Mayo in the Yukon, miners near a power line deposit reported unusual acoustic anomalies, metallic screeches, sounds echoing through the valley that did not correspond with any activity of machinery. In the Northwest Territories, reports from remote research stations mentioned glitch-like visual distortions near the tree lines that lasted for several seconds. This occurred intermittently throughout the night of March 23rd, starting at 8:30 p.m. And they reported it in the internal mining security log and an independent research focused on the Nahanni Valley, which always has a lot of activity. Next, we're taking a look at the state of Montana. In Great Falls, in the Missoula area, residents in Great Falls reported 3 triangular-shaped crafts with dim red lights at each corner moving silently in a very low altitude. In the Missoula, multiple reports came in of bright silver cylinder that remained stationary for 15 minutes before vanishing. It was at 8:45 to 11:15 on the 24th, and they reported it to the National UFO Reporting Center, and I guess to local police. Animal mutilations in the Pondera County and the Highline region of northern Montana. A rancher discovered a young bull with surgical precision hallmarks. The left ear, sex organs, and rectum were removed with no ragged edges. As with cases in Alberta, there was a complete absence of blood on the ground and no tracks leading to or from the carcass. It was discovered on the 24th, that's Tuesday, in the morning. And they reported it to the Pondera County Sheriff's Office and the Montana Department of Livestock. And then there was a scripted strange occurrence. Blackfeet Indian Reserve, Glacier National Park border. Local residents reported disembodied whistling and sounds of heavy brush being snapped in the area where no large game was visible. Some also noted their electronics and car fobs temporarily failed to work while driving through certain hotspots on stretches of Highway 89. This occurred late in the evening at 11:30 on March 23rd. They reported it to the Tribal Law Enforcement and Independent Field Research. We're taking a look at Idaho, and in Idaho in the last 24 hours, there was a UAP UFO sighting. It was in the Snake River Plain. Multiple witnesses reported clusters of shifting black dots that appeared to defy focal depth, meaning observers found it physically difficult to lock their eyes into the object despite clear sky conditions. So they were having convergent issues. These objects were seen performing a zoom maneuver, exiting the area at speeds inconsistent with known drone technology. This was sighted between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m., broad daylight, and then again between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. on the 24th. And they reported it to the National UFO Reporting Center. In Camas Prairie, livestock producer discovered a heifer with cookie cutter style incisions on the abdomen and the removal of the tongue and reproductive organs. Mirroring the Alberta and Montana scans, there were no blood at the scene and no signs of predator tracks or struggle. It was discovered on March 23rd, and they reported it to the Idaho State Department of Agriculture and the Awi County Sheriff's Office. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And there was a strange occurrence near Idaho City in eastern Idaho, the forest area. Continued reports of skyquakes or mysterious booms that have been localized in the eastern part of the state. In the Boise National Forest, hikers reported seeing orbs or blobs of light that pulsated throughout various colors. And it doesn't say who they reported it to. In southwest Washington, a spectacular bright green fireball was captured on the dashboard camera and reported by numerous residents. While identified by some as a magnesium-rich meteor, the object was notable for its extreme brightness and series of booms that rattled windows in the region. Additionally, separate reports from Snohomish County described silent, low-flying discs with amber lights seen near the Puget Sound. And that was a fireball occurred at 6:06 a.m. on Monday the 23rd. And the disc was seen and reported between 9:30 and 11:45 the same evening. And they reported it to the UFO Center and Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. Excuse me. Animal mutilations in rural Oregon. In Yakima County, I hope I pronounced that right, 2 cattle were found on a remote ranch with circular bloodless incisions around the jaw and ear. Local reports highlight that no tracks were visible despite the damp ground from recent atmospheric rains. This following a long-standing history of such events in this area, which remains one of the highest density areas for these reports in the Pacific Northwest. And it was discovered on Tuesday, March 24th. It was reported to the local county sheriff's office and the local cattlemen's association. Mount Rainier foothills and Granite Falls. Near Granite Falls, residents reported unexplained hums and low-frequency vibrations coinciding with localized flooding from an atmospheric river. In the foothills of the Mount Rainier, hikers reported seeing shimmering, distortions in the air. And in Oregon State, over the last 48 hours, a UAP UFO in Lincoln City, Newport, and the Central Oregon coast. Coastal residents and local pilots report strobe-like white lights that appeared to merge into single large crafts before dividing into the Pacific Ocean, similar to U.S.A. unidentified submerged objects. Activity was noted near the Cascade Head area. The time of the sighting was between 11 p.m. and 1:45 on the 24th, and it was logged with the UFO Reporting Center and Oregon MUFON chapter. Animal mutilations. In eastern Oregon, Harnley County and the Silvies Valley Ranch area, hope I said that right, a ranch rider discovered 2 cattle, cookie cutter holes in the hide, and a total removal of reproductive organs and udders. Local investigators noted that despite the 48-hour window, the carcasses showed no sign of decomp or insect activity. It was discovered on March 24th. And it was reported to Harnley County Sheriff's Office. In the Columbia River Gorge, in the Tillamook area, campers reported snapping movement on a beach where a large dark mass was seen hopping or teleporting short distances rather than walking. In the gorge, witnesses reported crawling-type entities, pale and thin, crossing Highway 30. This occurred at 12:15 a.m. on March 24th. They reported it to the Independent Cryptozoology Database and shared it on regional Reddit thread dedicated to Oregon's spooky critters. And that is it. And I thank you so much for listening to me. And I really appreciate your time. And if you could like, share, and describe, and remember, be careful when you're out there. Never go hiking alone, people. Thank you. Bye.